Capital gains taxation is also proposed to be hugely simplified. Short-term gains on certain financial assets shall henceforth attract a tax rate of... I have two announcements to make. First, the standard deduction for salaried employees is proposed to be increased from 50,000 to 75,000 rupees. Second, in the new tax regime, the tax rate structure is proposed to be revised as follows.
Hello everyone, this is Shalini Gera, Certified Financial Planner. Nirmala Sitharaman announced her 7th straight budget today. Let me describe in 10 crisp points what the key highlights for Budget 2024 were. Along with the highlights, I will also share with you our personal take on how each and every point is expected to convert into a Viksit Bharat. In the interim budget in Feb 2024, the government had talked about building a Viksit Bharat. Today, it has given a roadmap to do so. The government has identified 9 key pillars which is going to lead to a Viksit Bharat. These 9 pillars are productivity and resilience in agriculture, employment and skilling, inclusive human resource development and social justice, manufacturing and services, support for promotion of MSMEs, urban development, energy security, infrastructure, and innovation, research and development. Let's identify what the government has done for each and every pillar. One day before the budget, the government had also come up with the Economic Survey 2024, in which it had clearly identified the issue of employability. The government had identified that 65% of our population is below the age of 35 years, but only 51% of this population is employable, clearly highlighting the skill gap. Through the budget, it aims to bridge this skill gap. The government has outlaid 2 lakh crore to employ 4.1 crore youth over the next 5 years. Similarly, for the skilling part, the government has proposed 1.48 lakh crore for creation of job opportunities. How it aims to do so is also very clear. The government has identified 1,000 training institutes, and these 1,000 training institutes are going to be upgraded for providing the requisite training and development of our youth. The government has also launched internship opportunities in 500 companies to 1 crore youth in the next 5 years. Additionally, the government has proposed that these interns are going to get 5,000 rupees of an internship allowance per month along with a real-time working exposure. Very important for financial planners as well as investors in India. The government in the economic survey had also pointed out towards the excessive valuations of the market. It pointed out that the market cap to GDP ratio, which is currently 124% in India, is not necessarily an indicator of the economic strength, but would also point towards the instability in the markets. Thus, caution needs to be exercised. Thus, the capital gain tax rate in India has been changed. The tax rate on short-term capital gain in the equity markets has been increased from the current 15% to 20%. The long-term capital gain tax rate has been increased from 10% to 12.5%. Thus, the government is clearly talking about restricting the excessive inflows into the equity markets. However, the government is also clear that the excessive household savings need to be channelized into the equity markets. And hence, in order to offset the increased capital gain tax rate, the government has also enhanced the exemption on long-term capital gain from the current 1 lakh rupees to 1.25 lakh rupees. The government has clearly outlined its concern on the future and options trading segment and hence has increased the security transaction tax rate on futures and options to 0.02% and 0.1% respectively. The government in the economic survey had also identified the problem of our over dependence on China for critical and rare earth minerals in order to transition to renewable sources of energy. In order to reduce this dependence on China, the government has cut the tax rate on foreign companies from the current 40% to 35%, thus inviting more foreign companies to start manufacturing in India. The government has also set up a critical mineral mission for the domestic production, recycling and overseas acquisition of critical mineral assets, thus resulting into an Atmanirbhar Bharat. Fourth, changes in the direct taxes. Changes in the tax slab rates are as follows. No changes in the 0 to 3 lakh rupees income bracket. The 3 to 6 lakhs tax bracket, which was at 5% earlier, has now been converted to the 3 to 7 lakhs tax bracket. This means that the person who was earlier being taxed at 10%, having an income of 7 lakh rupees, is now going to be taxed at 5%. Similarly, the 6 to 9 tax rate at 10% has now been converted to the 7 to 10 lakh rupees tax bracket. 9 to 12 lakh rupees tax bracket at 15% has been converted to 10 to 12 lakh rupees tax bracket. No further changes in any of the tax bracket. This clearly gives a boost to the household savings. That means an individual in the new tax regime is going to save up to rupees 17,500 every year. Similar to an individual tax structure, changes have also been made in the corporate tax structure. Foreign companies are now going to be taxed at 35% instead of the 40% earlier. Angel tax has been abolished. This is very important for our startup ecosystem. Angel tax was the tax which was being charged by the government on the investments raised by startups. Whatever investments were being raised was simply being taxed at 30% and classified as income from other sources. Tax deducted at source or TDS changes have also been introduced. The government has decriminalized any delays in payment of TDS up to their due filing date. For e-commerce companies also the TDS rate has been changed. For e-commerce companies the TDS rate has been changed from 1% earlier to 0.1% now, thus raising the profitability as well as corporate earnings for our e-commerce companies. Changes in customs duty. Customs duty has been reduced from the 6.4% earlier to 6% now for gold as well as silver. The customs duty has also been reduced for mobile phones as well as related equipment from 20% earlier to 15% now. 3 medicines are now fully exempted from any customs duty which were being utilized for cancer treatment. Capital expenditure. The capital expenditure is at 11.11 lakh crore, which is same as interim budget. This is 3.4% of India. It is to be utilized for the infrastructure development, that is railways, roadways, highways and port development. 26,000 crore has simply gone towards Bihar for the development of their highways. This is going to result into an improved infrastructure for the company. The government has given a significant outlay towards the agriculture development in India. Earlier, our farmers were procuring seeds which were not climate resistant and hence were resulting into a poor crop production. However, our indigenous scientists have come up with a quality of seeds which are now climate resistant, and the government has launched a scheme to provide these climate resistant seeds to the farmers of India. An outlay of 1.5 lakh crore has been made towards agriculture and agriculture allied sectors. For women development, the budget carries an allocation of more than 3 lakh crore for schemes benefiting for women as well as girls. In the earlier budgets, Mahila Samman Yojana had been introduced, which was a success. Did you know that the women in our country who were earlier being restricted to households of the kitchen have now started working in male-dominated fields such as agriculture and are now flying drones which are being utilized for agriculture assessment as well as deployment of pesticides as well as fertilizers on the crops. So these were our crisp highlights on the budget 2024. Do let us know on how you like the budget 2024 highlights. Also let us know on what other financially relevant content would you want us to talk about. This is Shalini Ghera signing off. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.